Welcome to Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai and I can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the major stories. President Buhari leaves for Saudi Arabia on 9-day official visit. The nation's food agency says $800 million urgently needed for Afghanistan, warns of catastrophic hunger. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good evening and thanks for joining us. First in our report tonight is from Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who is expected to travel to Saudi Arabia on an official visit from tomorrow, April 11th through the 19th, on his last trip to the kingdom as president. A statement issued by the senior special assistant to the president. The statement, President Buhari will be accompanied by his aides. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has greeted leading businessman and philanthropist Aliko Dangote as he marks his 60th birthday. A long, healthy life and a joyful year ahead. President Buhari commended him for the numerous efforts he's making for the earth. The president, in a statement, is special assistant on media and publicity Garba Shehu, was quoted as saying, "Hearty congratulations and best wishes to the illustrious businessman Aliko Dangote on his birthday." In the meantime, Vice Plans in Hague, Netherlands, Prince Bola Ajibola in Abeokuta, Ogun State. Ajibola, who is also an Attorney General of Nigeria between 1985 and 1991, died at the age of 86. Reports say the respected legal icon who founded Crescent University, Abeokuta, passed away on Saturday night after a protracted illness as a result of old age. Others who attended the funeral were former President Olusegun Obasanjo and former Ogun State Governor Olusegun Oshoba. Away from that, the Bureau of Public Enterprises (BPE) has signed a tripartite agreement with Portman Freight Services Limited. The agreement at the conference hall of the Bureau, the Director General of the Bureau of Public Enterprises (BPE), Alex Oko, noted that the event marks the commencement of the work and the portion of parcel A and B that is not designated for concession, and the standardization of lease agreements, which will ultimately increase, made this known in a statement today. According to the statement, Oko noted that in line with the Privatization and Commercialization Act of 1999, the NCP approved the concession from the Red Chambers. The Senate has indicted the Budget Office of the Federation for giving approval of 19 billion naira to 4 ministries, departments, agencies, MDAs of the federal government without seeking the approval of the Minister of Finance. Recall that named federal agencies by the Budget Office. However, after the investigation by the Senate Public Accounts Committee, the Budget Office was unable to present evidence of approval from the Ministry of Finance before paying the 19 billion naira from the service-wide vote to the 4 unnamed federal agencies. The Budget Office of the Federation in its 4 MDAs without response. Meanwhile, the committee chaired by Matthew Gorinde noted that the Budget Office did not present the letter it claimed to have written to the office of the AUGF requesting further details. On judicial matters, the Supreme Court of Nigeria CJN Justice Olukayode Aruwola made this known in a statement while felicitating Nigerian Christian and Muslim faithful on the year's Easter celebration, that both Christians and Muslims to use the two occasions to pray for continued peace and tranquility in the country. Moving on, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has reaffirmed the commitment of the federal government to ensure the total radar coverage of Nigeria to ensure safety and security of the Nigeria's airspace. The minister gave the assurance during his visit to the headquarters of CXR Networks, a company project of the Nigeria's airspace in Paris and France. Sirika, in a statement issued by his Special Assistant on Public Affairs, James Adaldu, said that the project was one of the legacy projects of the administration of President. The capacity, efficiency and capability of the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. On census, the National Population Commission (NPC) is set to train and deploy 5,000 staff for the 2020 government areas of the state. Training at the local government level is scheduled to begin next Thursday, April 13, in all the 21 local government areas. The NPC commissioned that the training would come after 7 days of data quality managers and specialized workforce training organized by the Commission in all the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. In education, academic solution to its incessant face-off with the government only on one condition, that the government must show determination to handle education issues with the seriousness they deserve. Speaking in a chat with newsmen today, the national president, Professor Emmanuel Osodike, however, said if the Tinubu administration would go the way of its predecessor, that the final nail would have been put on tertiary education in the country. On the steps to resolve the issue of withheld salaries and other matters in contention with the outgoing government, Osodike noted that no significant progress has been made. Still in education, Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM) has announced a new date for commencement of 2020. The organization said the test, earlier scheduled for April 29, now holds on April 25. The statement added that the rescheduled mock UTME will be holding on the 18th of April. On security matters, Commandant General of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC Ahmed Aldi has advised the Corps personnel to observe absolute vigilance while carried by gunmen on the personnel in various parts of the country. He frowned on the death rate recorded by the Corps in recent times, saying that it was quite saddening and unfortunate. Aldi stressed the need for officers and men of the Corps to apply intelligent surveillance before embarking on road trips. Enforcement Agency NDLEA, Kano State Command, said it had secured the conviction of 37 drug peddlers and users between January and March. The state commander of the agency, Abubakar Idris Ahmed, told newsmen in Kano today. Idris Ahmed said the command arrested 352 suspects within the period. He said apart from the 37 convicted by the Federal High Court, the command had filed 39 fresh cases, while 127 other cases were pending. That it is currently recruiting through a dubious EFCC recruitment 2023-2024 application portal. The Commission on its website today stated that the fraudsters who are yet to begin the process went further to provide a link on how to apply, urging members of the public to share to other social media groups for assistance, while warning members of the public not to be deceived by the fake information The Commission noted that its activities, including job openings, can only be obtained from its official website. In a separate internally generated revenue, IGR, describing the agency as the lifeblood of every government, Soludo disclosed this today during the inauguration of members of the board at the Governor's Lodge, Amaiwia in Anambra. The governor reminded them that the state has yet to start generating up to 3 billion naira a month on IGR and that an over 180% turnaround on the state revenue is required as the 2023 budget depends on it. In like manner, the board of Anambra State Housing Development Corporation in the state, the board chaired by former Deputy Governor of Anambra State Emeka Soidu, was also mandated to develop housing structures that would suit the desires of the people. The chairman pledged complete commitment to disruptive change in the state's housing development. In another development, Professor Onje Gewando, a former deputy governor of Nasarawa State, who's near Wamba, the headquarters of Wamba local government area. His kidnappers placed a ransom of 70 million naira, but the family bargained from 2 million naira to 3.5 million naira and finally negotiated close to 4 million naira before he was released. On the home front, Akwa Ibom State Governor Dem Emmanuel has called for unity among the people of the state despite their political affiliations. The governor, who stated this in a broadcast message to the people of the state to mark the Easter celebration, which commemorates the death and resurrection, the achievements recorded by successive administrations in the state. The governor, who described Easter as an important event in Christendom, said the death of Jesus Christ on the cross was an ultimate expression of sacrifice for the remission of sin for mankind. The governor expressed appreciation to the people of the state for entrusting him with the task. Faced with many economic challenges, his administration was able to turn the challenges into opportunities and record successes in all sectors of the state economy. The governor therefore appealed to the people of the state to extend their support to the incoming administration in the state.
Calling for unity and love, but we must resist the impulse of letting politics create unbridgeable schism amongst us as kindred. I urge our political class to shake their swords and join hands with the governor-elect, Pastor Umo Eno, to build an economically vibrant state where the yearnings and hopes of our collective growth and development would be attained for the good of us and the generations yet unborn.
Still to come in the news. Yen weakens on UEDA comment.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment of 12733, Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect
every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In Africa, 300 demonstrators from opposition parties have reportedly waved Tunisian flags and carried signs with the images of detainees at the rally organized by the main opposition coalition, the National Salvation Front. Recall that in early February, authorities in the North African country had arrested more than 20 political opponents and personalities, including politicians, former ministers, businessmen, and trade unionists. However, local and international rights groups have criticized the arrest. They allegedly accused Tunisia incumbent President Kais Saied of reinstating autocratic rule in the North African country, which seemed to be the sole democracy to have emerged from the Arab Spring uprisings in the MENA region over a decade ago. A roadmap to save Tunisia and return to the democratic path. Still in Africa, at least 44 civilians are reportedly killed in two separate attacks on villages in northern Burkina Faso. A local governor, Rodolphe Sogo, in a statement blamed terrorists for the attacks without naming a specific group. Reports say Burkina Faso is one of the world's poorest countries and has become the epicenter of violence carried out by Islamist militants linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. The violence began in neighboring Mali in 2012, but has since spread across the arid expanse of the Sahel region, south of the Sahara Desert. A rapist and murderer who escaped a South African prison by faking his own death has been arrested in Tanzania. Bester was allowed for a year after it was thought he died by setting himself on fire in his prison cell. A manhunt was launched last month after a new post-mortem investigation revealed the body was not actually his. Bester was caught with his girlfriend and a third suspect and will be extradited to South Africa. Police said they believe the trio were intending to flee into neighboring Kenya. Bester is known as the Facebook rapist for using the social networking site to lure his victims. He was convicted in 2012 for the rape and murder of his model girlfriend Nofundo Tailu after apparently setting himself on fire at the Magwan Correctional Center in the city of Bafouin. Meanwhile, huge protests have taken place in Ethiopia's Amhara region for the fifth consecutive day against government moves to dissolve a paramilitary force. Demonstrators blocked roads with rocks and burning tires to prevent the military from traveling around. Protesters fear that the government's decision would leave them exposed to attacks by neighboring regions. According to reports, Ethiopia's regional states have their own special forces to protect their borders and to fight rebels. Meanwhile, the government announced last week that it wants the special forces to be integrated into the federal army or police force and towns across the region. Still in Africa, a military tribunal in the Democratic Republic of Congo has sentenced 6 men to life in prison for murdering Italy's ambassador in February of 2021. Luca Antonesio was among 3 people shot dead after a UN convoy that he was traveling with was ambushed. His driver was killed first, then he and his bodyguard were kidnapped, dying after a rescue operation went wrong. According to reports, it happened in the troubled east of the country, where many armed groups operate. Meanwhile, 5 of the 6 men accused of killing them were arrested in January of 2022 and have been in custody at Ndolo military prison in the capital Kinshasa. A 6th man is on the run. On the foreign scene, the United Nations Food Agency said today it urgently needs $800 million for the next 6 months to help Afghanistan, which is at the highest risk of famine in a quarter of a century. 8 agencies have been providing food, education, but distribution has been severely impacted by a Taliban edict last December banning women from working at national and international non-governmental groups. Meanwhile, the United Nations was not part of this ban, but last week it said the Taliban-led government has stopped Afghan women from working at its agencies in the country. Still on the foreign scene, 5 people have reportedly lost their lives and 6 others have been injured during a morning shooting in Dhaka. The suspected shooter is dead and that there is no longer an active threat. The shooting happened at the old National Bank building, a multi-story building located across the street from Louisville's Slugger Field. Meanwhile, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has announced he was heading to the scene of the shooting. Elsewhere, a 4th body has been found in the rubble of a building that collapsed in Marseille following a major explosion, French authorities said today, as rescue workers scrambled to find a further 4 people still unaccounted for. More than 24 hours after the 4-story building imploded, with residents reporting a strong port city that its fighter planes loaded with live ammunition had carried out multiple waves of simulated strikes on important targets. This is coming after Taiwan's defense ministry had earlier said that it had detected 11 Chinese warships and 59 aircraft around the island today, as from his 10-day trip to the United States and Central America. In the meantime, a Russian court today has reportedly sentenced 2 former officials to 19 years in prison for throwing. The sentence was the heaviest punishment handed out so far for that type of attack, of which there have been dozens since Russia began its military campaign in Ukraine. According to reports, in September last year, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a partial mobilization to prop up forces in Ukraine, leading to a mass exodus of men from Russia to avoid being of a security breach, as highly classified documents were allegedly leaked over the past few weeks on social media platforms, showing war-sensitive details on Ukraine's military defenses as the embattled nation prepares to launch a counter-offensive against Russian forces. The documents drew international scrutiny while alarming the Pentagon. Heavily publicized in an article published by the New York Times last week, seeks to identify the source of the breach. Meanwhile, the U.S. national security community is grappling with fallout from the release of dozens of secret documents, including the impact on sensitive information sharing within the government and ties with other nations. Meanwhile, thousands of Israelis, led by at least 7 cabinet ministers, marched today to an evacuated West Bank set on occupied lands despite international opposition. According to reports, the mass rally also threatened to further raise tensions that have been heightened by days of unrest across the region over West Bank. Meanwhile, today's march took place in the northern West Bank, the scene of repeated violence in recent months. Thousands of Israeli police and army forces were reportedly deployed holy days. And now it's time for the latest business and
in the news. Yen weakens on weather comments. The Japanese yen lost almost 1% against the US dollar today amid general dollar strength, and as Bank of Japan Governor Kazuo Ueda signaled there would be no significant changes, Ueda said during his inaugural news conference as a governor of Bank of Japan. However, the new governor also noted the central bank mustn't put off normalizing monetary policy until too late in the yield curve control program. But Monday's comments lowered any chance for a policy tweak in April. Egypt's inflation rate at near 6-year high. The annual urban inflation rate in August of 33.6%. It was the highest inflation rate since July 2017, remaining well above the upper limit of the central bank's 5 to 9% target range for a year, amid a falling currency brought on by a rise in prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages at 62.9% against 61.8% in February, by far the most relevant in the consumer price index basket. On a monthly basis, consumer prices, the assets under the contributory pension scheme rose by 1.68 trillion naira from 13.76 trillion naira as of the end of February 2022 to 15.45 trillion naira as of the end of February 2023. PENCOM provided information on the approved existing schemes, closed pension funds administrators and retirement savings funds, including unremitted at 9,919,281 in the period under review. Still in Nigeria. Loan apps on Play Store will lose their ability to access their users' contact or photos. Was consistent with the Nigerian authorities' move to curtail the invasion of customers' privacy by loan apps firms. The federal government had in recent time taken major decisions aimed at registered 117 loans apps out of 200 operating in the country. Google, in its April 2023 policy updates, said the new policy update would provide respite for loan app use. The Nigerian stock market is on holiday today. Happy Easter. I'm back to Uyai Anekan for the rest of the news.
Still to come in the after this time out.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries?
The evidence in our matter. Is this an adversary proceeding? It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court. Is this an adversary proceeding?
Legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Business on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the concluding part of the news. In hell, the United Kingdom has placed Nigeria on the red list of countries that should not be actively targeted for recruitment by methodology contained in the 10-year review of relevance and effectiveness of the World Health Organization WHO Global Code of Practice on the International Terms of the Government-to-Government Agreement are Kenya and Nepal, adding that active recruitment is permitted from green-graded countries. Reports say this is coming 1 month after the World Health Organization listed 55 countries, including Nigeria, facing the most pressing health workforce challenges related to university. Dr. Osahon Enabile has opposed the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act Amendment Bill, which seeks to compel medical and dental graduates to render 5-year compulsory services, aims to check the exit of Nigerian medical professionals abroad. In an interview with newsmen, the WMA president described the bill as misplaced and ill-advised, saying it should be withdrawn because it would rather worsen brain drain. Enabile added that the bill shows a clear lack of understanding by the crisis. We go over now to Isaac for trending sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Uyaya Nyekan. In sports, Cameron Norrie fell to an early exit at the Monte Carlo Masters as he lost to Francesco Cerundolo in the first round. The British #1 throughout the match and made 18 unforced errors compared with only 8 winners. Cerundolo, 24, gained the decisive break in the 9th game of the second set when Norrie netted a forehand. Norrie started the season with a run of 21 wins from 25. Mark Draper faces Sebastian Baez of Argentina, while 3-time Grand Slam winner Andy Murray plays Australia's Alex de Minaur. We're talking about basketball. Dwayne Casey has stepped down as Detroit Pistons head coach, and he will take up a new stint on as head coach. Detroit ended the season with the worst record in the NBA of 17 wins and 65 losses. Casey will remain with the franchise, but there will be a new head coach next season. Milwaukee Bucks assistant Charles Lee and former Boston Celtics coach Emil Doka are reporting 8 wins and 262 losses. Well, finally, let's talk about football. Rivers United assistant coach has resigned from his position. Fatai Osho revealed this on his Facebook page. Osho, however, did not disclose reason for his resignation to join Rivers' position in the NPFL Group B. Well, that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Isaac, back to you, Yai.
Thank you, Isaac. On our entertainment news, Pierre Lacorte, a French choreographer who, as a young man, helped ballet superstar Rudolf Nureyev defect from the Soviet Union, died at the age of 91 today. According to his wife, the artist, known in his later, he suffered a cut that became septic. Born in the French capital in 1932, Lacorte became a star dancer at the Paris Opera Ballet at the age of 19. From the late 1950s, he worked as an independent while he was on tour in Paris. Lacorte was among those who helped the dancer escape KGB agents and seek asylum at the capital's Le Bourget airport, including those belonging to his second wife, Judy Austin, shared over the past year. The actor also removed the post he made in April of 2022 to announce that he had a new son and a second wife. Meanwhile, the Nollywood star still has photos of his first wife, May Yul Edochie, and also spared the picture of him and his father. Other posts he shared celebrating Judy, including the one he posted on her birthday in January 2023, currently streaming a Welsh language drama for the first time. Reports say Dial Malay is a crime drama airing under a new title, Rough Court, which is reportedly the first solely Welsh language production to be shown on the global streaming service. According to the drama head Gwelian Graville, the movie, which translates as Catch the Lightning, was a debut novel. Lastly tonight, the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria (CIAN) today said it generated 441 million in Lagos. Ajayi said the total admission of viewers into cinemas across the federation for the period under review was 174,071. spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai Anyeka. Thanks for watching and do have a splendid night rest. Good night.